little obsessed.
Hi there. Welcome to another episode of Little Obsessed. This is the YouTube channel where we explore different miniature and gaming related topics and pretty much anything I want to talk about on a given episode. Today though, we're going to talk about Scale 75's instant colors. Last time we unboxed them, and this time we're going to see how they work. Scale 75 instant colors come in 48 different colors. And along with those, Scale 75 has put out a line of primers of 3 different colors. And they are Holy Charm, which is white, Bone Charm, which is an ivory color, and Ice Charm, which is a blue-gray. And now when you apply the different instant colors on top of those primers, they're supposed to yield different color combination results. And so with the 48 different colors and the 3 different primers, that's 144 different color combinations that it yields. And today we're going to put those through their paces. So in preparation for that, I used my SLA 3D printer to print out 144 bases, all of the same type. So with that said, let's see what these instant colors can do. Okay, so to prepare, as I mentioned before, we have 144 bases, or off to my left, off camera here. The other thing I've done is I've printed up some heavy cardstock, basically where I've built a whole table of each of the 48 different colors that the Instacolor range is in, and each of the 3 primer types. So I'm going to try each color against each of the 3 primer types, which is Holy Charm, Bone Charm, and Ice Charm. Those are the 3. And we're going to take a look how they are, and I will then put them on the cardstock, take photos of them, and you'll have them available as a reference to you as a link at the bottom of this channel. So with that said, I'm going to take the first one out and do this systematically here. This is Shadow Black, and they start their numbering as 0. I have, so for each of these, the way the instant colors work is they come sealed, and I find it very handy to go to a sewing store. I can't even think of the name of the local ones here in the U.S., but there are a bunch of them out there, Fabrics and something Fabrics. Anyway, I get these T-pins. They're in the shape of a T. I find them very easy to just open up the seal that's on the paint and to unclog these bottles, because sometimes paint gets in the nozzle and clogs it up. But to test this, I'm just going to put a couple of drops of the paint there. Shadow Black is what it's called. I'm going to wet my brush up here, and I'm not going to dilute this in any way at the moment. They don't provide any instructions on how to work this, so I'm just going to give it a whirl and see how it works. As you can see, it's kind of filling the dark areas into the recessed areas with the dark of the paint. And it is a little thick. It's kind of got a almost like a ink kind of consistency if you've ever painted with inks. And I do think I might need to dilute it a little bit here to use it and let it flow a little better. Yeah, that's working better. If I add a little bit of water to my brush, find that works much better. So you can see, I think you can see in the recesses here, it's pooling up with darker pigment, and the raised areas are not. So I'm going to just finish that up, put it aside to dry for the moment, and I'll work on the other colors here. So this one is the Bone Charm, sort of a yellow off-white, and you can see with the what's it called, black shadow. With the black shadow, it's a completely different effect than with the Ice Charm. So I'm just applying it there, diluting it a little bit so that it flows better. For the next one, I'm going to add some water directly to the basin here, and so I don't have to keep tipping my brush back into the pot. Okay, and now on to the Holy Charm. All right, just added some more water there. With the Holy Charm, it's looking like this black is got some blue undertones to it. Or maybe that's just the way Holy Charm makes it look. But once again, you can see this is yet another very different look. Same exact paint, just a different undercoat of the primer. Anyway, that's the process. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to keep going with the other 47 different paints, and we'll probably speed things up here so you don't have to sit through that whole process, but at least you'll get to see the end result. And then I'll come back with comments that I might have, and either things that I learned along the way or things that I'd like to try in the future. So to test the instant colors further, I decided to paint up a couple of figures, one with Scale 75's normal paint range and the other with instant colors. The figure on the left is using instant colors, the figure on the right is the normal paint range. First disclaimer is I'm about an average painter and the camera is not kind. But with that said, the figure on the right was my test paint figure, and I did my best to match the colors using instant color ranges, but of course you can't make an exact match. I used Ice Charm as the primer on the figure in all the areas except for the flesh, which was Holy Charm, and the colors I used were Love Affair for the cap and stockings, Werewolf Brown for the jacket, and Endurance Brown for the pants. The details I used were simply Scale 75 paints. I didn't attempt to use the instant colors on things like the buttons and the hilt of the sword, etc. But I think you can see it does a fairly good job and certainly speeds the painting process. Overall, I found that the paint dries fairly quickly, so you might need to add a bit of the medium that you can purchase along with it, or even water to thin it down a bit and to keep it wet. And in particular, human flesh I thought did a great job on top of the Holy Charm. Some of the pros and cons: on the pros side, it definitely speeds the painting process. And there's a strong contrast between the recessed and shadowed areas versus the elevated highlighted areas. Cons are it does leave some streaks on larger flat surface areas if you're not careful, and some color combinations in their range of paints seem to repeat. I'm not really sure why they had them. But overall, I think they're a nice range and a nice tool kit to add to your overall paint set. Well, that's it for this episode. Before I finish, though, I did want to mention that the bases I used for the filming of this video were from a recent Kickstarter I backed by Ian Lovecraft called Desert Adventures. Ian makes some great 3D models that I highly recommend, and if you've missed a previous Kickstarter, he gives you an opportunity to buy into those when you back future ones. I've left a link to Desert Adventures so you can follow him for the future. Also, I did want to mention a disclaimer that I have not been endorsed in any way in the making of this video by Scale 75 nor by Ian Lovecraft. And finally, I left a link below for a PDF index of all the instant color combinations for your reference. I hope you find it useful. If you have, please consider subscribing to this channel by clicking on the bell below. And also, please leave me comments. I get back to all of them, and I would love your feedback as well as any thoughts you'd like to see, any topics you'd like to see me cover in the future. Until next time, keep painting and playing games.